Okay. Thank you all for joining in today or for listening in afterwards, wherever you are. I'm Jordan Amaker. I'm the Lowcountry Local First Director of Advocacy and Communications. And we're excited today to learn together about a topic that may be unfamiliar to a lot of you, or maybe it's something you've heard of, but just weren't really sure exactly of the inner workings of it. So I'm excited to bring Kim Wickersham on the call with us today. Kim is someone I had the pleasure of learning from last fall through the Francis Marion University's nonprofit leadership course. And she certainly opened my eyes to a lot of things in the nonprofit space that I wasn't aware of, even having worked in the nonprofit space for going on 10 years. And she made what could maybe seem daunting very accessible and easy to understand and logical. And I've since then learned just how accessible she and her team are to nonprofits across the state, but also to businesses across the state who have questions around giving back to your communities, nonprofits. So I know our membership, our local businesses give back tremendously at times throughout the year, especially right now, post-hurricane season, almost post-hurricane season, and especially, throughout the holidays. We have a lot of businesses who give back regularly through monthly campaigns. And these rules aren't here to hinder that or to slow that. It's really here to celebrate that and to legitimize that and to prevent, any evildoers out there from getting away with, fraudulent sort of giving efforts. So I hope your takeaway from watching this is to keep doing what you're doing or to do more of it even, to know how to do it right. And maybe even just the biggest takeaway is just to know Kim and to know how to contact her and her team, and to just anytime you have a question that comes up when you're planning a campaign or you've found a charity you want to support year round, that you can always call on them to make sure you're getting it right and to make sure that charity's doing it right as well.
Right.
So I'm grateful to Kim for her time today and for sharing this expertise with all of us. If you are joining live and want to chat in some questions, we'll be watching that and we'll take some time at the end as well. And we'll be saving this on our website after the fact, so we can share out the link to those who want to share it with your teams too. So Kim, without further ado, thank you, and we'll let you share your screen.
Okay, thank you very much, George. Let me get this set up. Yeah, should be good. We looking good there?
Looks perfect.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, thank you for having me, Jordan. I appreciate this opportunity. I know the commercial co-venture campaigns that are out there are super helpful to nonprofits, not only in our state but our surrounding states. And like Jordan said, definitely not here to squash any of that. Just make sure that the accountability aspect of it is complied with per statute, so that we make sure that the charities are getting what they're promised, and that everyone who's required to register and file contracts does so. Because if one does it, then they all need to do it. So we're going to try and pull in some outliers and just make sure that everyone is educated, so that when they do decide to jump in that pool of commercial co-venture fundraising, then we're all doing it the same way. And I get a little bit about myself. Kim Wickersham. I am the director for the Public Charities Division. We are always here to help you at any time. Our information is at the end of the slides. You'll be able to contact us if you have any questions about this or just anything else in general related to fundraising in the state of South Carolina, whether you're from the professional fundraiser side or the charity side. We're happy to talk to you and help you in any way we can. I've been doing this for coming up on 15 years here next month, and I actually really enjoy my job, and reaching out to people in the public and educating them is one of the things I like the best. Just making sure that we're helping people be responsible and accountable to the public, and helping you do your job the best you can. And with that, let me go ahead and get started on our presentation here. So I am going to go ahead and give a little bit of information on the charity side of things, just so that you all know what's required of the charitable organizations. And then I'm going to talk a lot about commercial co-ventures and what their requirements are. And then I'm going to touch really quickly on raffles at the very end, because the three of those things all seem to go together sometimes. So let's go ahead and get started with talking about the Solicitation of Charitable Funds Act as it relates to charities. And I will, okay, here we go. South Carolina Solicitation of Charitable Funds Act, that is the act that that tells us what is required of nonprofit organizations if they're going to fundraise in South Carolina. Also covers commercial co-ventures, professional fundraisers, and professional fundraising councils. It was created in 1994. There's been a few amendments to it in the past 10 years. But this is the statute that provides our guidance that you're going to hear about here. Charitable organization is defined as a person that is either a tax-exempt organization by the IRS, whether it's a 501c3 or one of the other sections of the IRS code. It's also defined as someone who holds itself out to be for any one of the nonprofit purposes that you see listed here: social welfare, scientific, educational, youth, pretty much anything. It's a pretty broad category of organizations that can be considered a charitable organization. It also covers or includes people who are just have a charitable appeal. So this can be a nonprofit that maybe hasn't gotten tax exempt status with the IRS yet, but has a charitable appeal. It can also be a for-profit that has a charitable appeal. I'm talking about maybe a for-profit company that has maybe an employee assistance fund or a community assistance fund, where maybe they have their employees give an opportunity to, I've heard of one that says for, donate $5 every month to the community assistance fund, you can wear jeans that Friday. Something as simple as that. But if you have a charitable appeal where you're soliciting from the public, that is also someone who's required to register with our office before you solicit contributions. Charitable organizations don't cover every single type of a nonprofit. So some of those that don't fit in the charitable organization definition and are not required to register with us would be churches, places that have worship services at some point during the week, and they're integrated auxiliary. In other words, if you have a women's ministry associated with a church and that women's ministry does not have their own EIN number or bank account, they would be included under the church's status as a not required to register with the Secretary of State's office if they're going to do fundraising. If that women's ministry has a separate bank account EIN number, they're considered a separate nonprofit entity, and they would be required to register if they're going to solicit contributions in South Carolina. The other type of organization might be maybe a religious organization that the IRS has determined their religious organization. They're not required to file a 990, an EZ, or a 990N, but they are tax exempt. Those organizations that aren't required to file that IRS form are also not required to file as a charitable organization in order to solicit in the state. Political candidates and their parties are not required to register with us either, because they are required to file and register with the federal and state election commissions.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
Sorry. The registration with the Secretary of State's office has to be provided to us prior to any solicitation. So in other words, if you're going to hold a fundraising event in South Carolina, you're just getting started, you want to make sure that your registration is on file with us prior to the event taking place. It's always required prior to it. You can also renew your registration every year, 4.5 months after the end of your fiscal year. You can actually register beginning the first day of your next fiscal year. So, but you have to make sure that you do that registration prior to any activity, and keep that registration active with us. Don't let it expire if you're here fundraising in South Carolina. There are three types of professional fundraising organizations. There's a professional fundraising solicitor company, fundraising council, and a commercial co-venture. Each of those are required to register with us if they are fundraising for a nonprofit organization in the state of South Carolina. A solicitor company is a person that for a monetary amount solicits contributions on behalf of an organization. These people may plan the fundraising event. They can conduct it, meaning they go out and make the ask, or they conduct it as in like a bingo. They may manage it. They may make phone calls for the nonprofit organization. They do any type of these activities where they are involved in the actual fundraising process. They are required to register as a fundraising solicitor company. They do not qualify as a council. They are definitely a company. A person whose compensation is computed on the basis of the amount of money raised. In other words, if a fundraising entity says we will be paid a percentage based on the amount of contributions that are collected, that is a fundraising solicitor company. That is not a council. If you are a council, you will be paid by a flat amount. So in other words, you might manage an entity's fundraising event or campaign, but you won't actually go out and make the ask. You won't be there in person collecting any monetary donations. You won't hold the monetary donations, and you will only get paid a flat fee. So if it's anything related to a percentage or making the ask, that is a professional solicitor company. Some of those examples here: telephone solicitors, electronic media, thrift shops. You've seen all of this in, as you go about your days. The council, again, as I stated before, they are the ones that will get paid a flat fee. They don't actually solicit the contributions as part of their services to the nonprofit organization. The commercial co-venture. This is the organization that regularly engages in trade or items for sale, and they enter into an agreement that says that we will sell our product and a percentage of the money that's raised will go to a charitable organization. So in other words, a good example of this might be the Paul Newman's dressing. They have a solicitation right on their labels that says that a percentage of the amount of money that is received for the purchase of their product goes to Newman's Foundation. And you can see that advertised in the stores. That is a classic example of a commercial co-venture. Another one might be like a Belk's Charity Days, where you go into the store, you purchase a product, and a percentage of the sales from that product is going to go to the charitable organization. Another example of that might be you have maybe a fast food restaurant that sells pizzas. They are going to say that on Thursdays, they might come in and say between 5 and 7 for every pepperoni pizza that's sold, $2 is going to go to benefit a specific organization. That is all considered a commercial co-venture. Those are commercial co-venture activities that are required to be registered with our office. So the fundraising solicitors, councils, commercial ventures are required to register with us, just like the charitable organizations are. Registrations have to be renewed every year as long as you're going to be carrying on your fundraising activity. And the fee for filing the registration is $50. A professional fundraising solicitor and a commercial co-venture, not the councils, are required to file contracts that they engage in with a nonprofit organization. So a solicitor company is always going to have a contract with a nonprofit organization where it's laid out specifically what they're doing. There will be disclaimers and disclosures, and it's usually a pretty lengthy contract, and it's signed by both parties. The commercial co-venture contract is sometimes non-existent because they are not necessarily for a long drawn out event. Some are, some aren't. It just depends on the type of commercial co-venture. For the type of co-ventures we might see today in South Carolina, specifically related to this training, these may be restaurants, maybe, where you may or may not know who you're going to be raising funds for at the time that you have this campaign that starts. You may not be able to name a nonprofit organization because it's not been chosen yet. In those cases, there's no contract to submit to our office, but what we do is we collect a notice of solicitation form. That notice of solicitation form will gather all the information that would normally be on a contract, and it puts it on one concise form, and it's what gets entered into our computers for the public to see when they search what professional fundraising, commercial co-ventures, or fundraising companies are registered with us and what contracts they have on file with us. When a commercial co-venture wants to start a contract with someone, they may, if they don't know, like I said, if they don't know who they're going to solicit for, we have set up an organization called Numerous Charitable Organization that's just a holding place for a contract to be filed with our office when it's unknown who you're going to be doing the fundraising on behalf of. If you do know who you're going to do the fundraising behalf of, then you would go ahead and name that person or that entity on the notice of solicitation, and both parties will sign. But when you don't know who you're going to be fundraising for, you're going to use an organization called Numerous Charitable Organizations. When the contract has ended, within 90 days of the end of the contract, or within 90 days of the anniversary of the contract. So in other words, if it's going to go for longer than a year, you're going to be required to file a joint financial report. And we're going to walk through the steps of filing a joint financial report and a contract here as soon as we get through with this portion of the presentation. And we'll show you what that looks like on the screen, how to complete the forms that need to be uploaded. And so you'll have a better understanding visually of how this works. But within 90 days at the end of the contract or the end of the anniversary of a contract, if it's going to be going on for longer than a year, you will need to file a financial report. The joint financial report for a solicitor company, they're required to file and report to us the gross revenue from the campaign, total expenses incurred by the fundraiser, and this would be a fundraising company, not a commercial co-venture, and the amount paid to the charitable organization. Commercial co-ventures reports are different in that we only collect the gross revenue for the event. So we're not looking for your gross revenue for the time period for the whole company. We are only looking for that event. So if you're selling, a glass of wine and it's between a certain number of hours during the week, we only want for that specific item that you're selling during those hours, what was your gross revenue? And then what amount did you pay to the charitable organization as a result of the sale of that product, if that is your campaign? When you do solicit or advertise what you're going to be, the campaign you're going to be running, you need to make sure that you don't misrepresent anything. You have to make sure that the organization that you are going to be fundraising for is aware that you're going to be using their name, and you have to actually have their permission to do it. You cannot imply in any way that you have the permission of someone to use their name in the sale of a product. Again, using name and materials of other charitable organizations without consent is one of the misrepresentations that's finable by statute. Implying that a person sponsors or endorses a charitable organization without their consent is also a misrepresentation. And then again, implying that the registration with the Secretary of State constitutes an endorsement or approval by the state, also a misrepresentation. So be very careful in your wording, and that you have permission to use anyone's name that you do use in the representation of the event that's taking place. The fines are a maximum of $2,000 on the registration and the filing of contracts and joint financial reports. If you fail to file one of those while you're running a campaign or when a campaign has ended, the fine is $10 a day until it's resolved, up to a maximum of $2,000. And the state may impose an administrative fine of $2,000 for the non-disclosure and misrepresentation during the course of a charitable solicitation. So the fines and penalties can lead to suspensions of your registrations with our office. We can seek injunctions against charitable organizations or professional fundraisers with administrative law court. You also can receive the same impositions of fines and injunctions and failure and trips to administrative law court for failing to file your contracts and joint financial reports as well. You can appeal these fines with the administrative law court. I would just say this, our office is very, we want to help you do help with your fundraising events. We are not here to find organizations and see them stop with their solicitation. We are always willing to help you with your filings, make sure that you have the information you need to know when something is due, what is missing. We just ask that you communicate with us, and we are happy to help you, resolve any violation letters that you may get with us. We are, that is our goal, is to bring everyone into compliance and keep you in compliance, not having to file injunctions or issue fines to organizations. All right, so I'm going to stop right here and slide out to the document that is available for you all that's been created that outlines what I just talked about. So real quickly, again, I want to go over the information that's on this form. This will be emailed or available to you for you to download. It talks again about the annual requirements for registration for the CCV. It's got a link here to our online filing on the website. When you do register, you will have two IDs that are issued to you. The first ID is called your username or your private ID. It will begin with an F. It is the name that you use to log into your account if you're going to file online. Your public ID begins with a P. It will be printed on all of your reminder letters. It'll be available on our website if they do a search. And your registration period, again, is for 1 year. Each year you renew your registration. The filing fee is $50. If an organization is not going to continue their fundraising for charitable organizations, you are not required to renew your registration. But as long as you're going to have those campaigns, just make sure that you keep your registration current with us. And make sure that the notices of solicitation are up to date, or any new ones that you embark on, go ahead and just let us know that you've got a new notice of solicitation that you want to file. We'll assist you, or you can log into your dashboard and go ahead and file those. The notice of solicitation, again, is between the commercial co-venture and a charitable organization, or sometimes many charitable organizations. You have to file that within 10 days or 10 days prior to the solicitation starting. We have someone that asked last week, they didn't know about it. Can they file now? We say, as soon as you realize you have to file something, just get it into our office and reach out, contact us, let us know it's coming, and we can help you get that process started sooner rather than later. If no contract exists, as I stated before, it's just the notice of solicitation that needs to be completed. And then the joint financial, again, within 90 days of the end of a solicitation campaign or the anniversary of the 1 year of the beginning of the campaign, that's when that joint financial report is due. The notice of solicitation. So I'm going to go ahead and show you one of the forms, the notice of solicitation form, and what that looks like and how to get that completed. Let me pull that up now. To move this. Sorry, stick with me. Okay, this is the notice of solicitation form. So on this form, it's just 2 pages, And what you're going to do is you would fill in the commercial co-ventures information right here on the left-hand side. And then if you know the organization you're soliciting for, it's a single organization, you're going to go ahead and just put that organization's name in this space here. In this example, though, I put in the numerous charitable organizations name, along with, you'll need our street address, where we're located here at the office, because this is our holding entity for situations with CCBs where there's multiple organizations that will be fundraised for. You'll fill out the numerous charitable organizations here. You'll go ahead and enter the start date of your contract. So if you're going to start January 1st, you would put that date in. If you'll have an end date, you would put it in this field here. Or if you're going to run it for more, you have an unknown end to the date. So you might intend to run it for multiple years. You might say, let's just see how it goes after a few months. You can leave it continuous, and then you can always tell us that you're ending it early, or you're just stopping it altogether. And we can make that amendment in the system for you as soon as you notify us by email. You'll give a brief description of the event. I put an example in here. Every Thursday, an entree will be offered as the pay it forward special. 10% of the gross revenue from the proceeds or from the purchase between 5 and 7 p.m. on Thursdays will be donated to local charities. That's pretty typical of what we would see when we have an organization, an entity that is going to fundraise, and they don't know exactly who they're going to be giving the money to, but they do know what they're going to run, the campaign or the special that they're going to run. You'll have to give us the address where the events will be taking place. If there's a minimum percentage, which we named up in here, 10% of the gross revenue, we're going to go ahead and add that amount down here. And then if there's a manager that's in charge, you can put that person's name and a street address. If there's no one that's necessarily overseeing it, you can leave that blank. And then you sign the commercial co-venture area, and the charitable organization area is left blank if it's multiple organizations that you're filing for. So back on our instruction form that you've got that will be at your disposal, you can use this here. This is exactly what I just told you on the form. So the link to the form is here for the notice of solicitation. When you complete it, you're going to enter the CCV information and charitable organization information. This is the information we just looked at on the form. You'll complete questions 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the form. Sign the commercial co-venture area on page 2. That's how you complete the notice of solicitation. If you have a contract, that's fine. If you have a contract, you still fill out this form and attach it to your contract when you upload it into our system or mail it to our office. Let's go to the joint financial report. Pull that one up. So the joint financial report, this is the form that you fill out 90 days after the end of the campaign or 90 days after the anniversary of the campaign start date. So you will, again, put your commercial co-venture information in here in the left-hand side. You'll put the numerous charitable organizations here, or if you know the specific organization, you would put it in here as well. So you would put your solicitation start date. When did the contract begin? So even if you're in a multiple year contract, you still put when it began at the very beginning. And you told us that this was a continuous contract, you would check that. But if you gave us an end date, you would put it in here. The brief description again of the event would go in this area. And then now you tell us what period you're covering by this report. So this particular report could be for November 1st through the end of 12/31/24, so through 2024. If the contract is ending early, you would let us know here, but on this form here is where you're going to put the gross revenue. So this, again, this is not the amount of money for your business during this time. This is just for the sale of a particular product or whatever event it is that you're running, whether it's a product, a service. There's all kinds of creative things out there. I can't even begin to name them all, but we want just the gross revenue related to that particular event that's described up in number 2 here. You will, unless it's a single organization, you're going to leave this just, and this is not correct. This should be, you're going to attach a document, but in this number here, this is going to be the entire amount that was given to the organization. So if it's, well, that wouldn't be right math, 120. So if it's 10% of the gross revenue, we would expect to see that you gave 120 out to charitable organizations. And then you attach a document that states what organizations received that money and how much each organization gave. So if we come back to our instruction document here, you'll see again, reviews. Here's the link to the form that you need to complete. And it's again tells you that 90 days after the end of the solicitation, it's due. Our office will send you a reminder 4 weeks prior to this form being due to make sure that it's on your radar and in progress if you haven't already submitted it. But that will go to the current contact for the commercial co-venture. When you complete the joint financial report, again, we'll use the numerous charitable organizations for the name of the organization. If you have more than one specific organization, you'll complete questions 1, 2, and 3 on the form related to the event, the dates. And then again, number 4, you're going to provide that gross revenue amount for the event during that reporting period. And then a 5, you're going to provide the total amount given to all charitable organizations during the date. And then here's what you have to do since you're doing numerous charitable organizations. If it's more than one organization, you provide an attachment. You give the name and address of the organization. You give us the EIN if it's available to you. And you give us the amount given to that specific organization. So we're just looking for a list of the organizations that received funding from you. So this all goes into our database, and we produce a report at the end of the year that shows all of the all of the fundraising contracts, and actually it's available during the year as well with a search. It'll show all of the contracts that a charitable organization and a fundraiser have on file with our office. And it'll show you which contracts that they have going on, and even report on the amount of revenue received by the charities and the amount of revenue received by the commercial co-ventures or the professional fundraisers. So all of that is available to the public. It's our way of providing the transparency and accountability to the public that is required per statute. You don't forget to certify the CCV signature area by signing it. Obviously, we won't expect signatures for all of the charities, but you do need to complete the CCV signature area yourself. All right, before we go on, let's see if we, do we have any questions, Jordan, that we want to break for real quick?
Hey, everybody. Okay, we do have one from GP. Let's see. For co-venture, are there other states with similar reporting requirements? And who carries the burden of reporting, the charity or the co-venturer or the solicitation professional?
Yeah, those are great questions. So there are, I don't know the exact number of states, but yes, a lot of the states have these same commercial co-venture laws. I know that in the last few years, seems like we see 1 or 2 new states each year that are adding these to their statutory requirements. If I can find the number, I can get it to Jordan. She can answer that specific number. But yes, other states, many other states do have these CCV laws as well. Now, as far as who's required to file, so the charitable organizations are required to file their own charity registration and their own type of financial report for their whole year. But related to commercial co-ventures and professional fundraisers, the professional fundraiser obviously is required to file their own registration, but it is, the onus is on the CCV and the professional fundraiser to file a notice of solicitation and the joint financial report. Now, when a charity logs into their online account, they can see if any of their commercial co-ventures or professional fundraisers that they have contracts with have missed a filing because it might show a violation. But the onus is on the PFR or the CCV to get those filings signed by the charities if it's a single organization, but they're always required to submit them within 90 days on behalf of the charity and the PFR. So the onus is on the PFR to get these things, the joint financial report and the notice of solicitation, filed with our office. If you ever are in a situation, which it doesn't happen too often, thankfully, but if you ever bump up against not being able to contact a charity that maybe you did some work for, and it's coming up against that 90 days, you can always reach out to us and find out, is there a new contact information maybe that our system has registered because someone's reached out and said, hey, the old director's not there, I'm here. And we can provide you with updated contact information. And we'll just note your file that you're still working on getting a signature should it delay your filing at all. So just let us know, keep us informed if you do come up against that. Anything else?
I have a question. You had mentioned early on in the presentation that these rules exist for businesses that are fundraising regularly and primarily. Can you clarify if there are specific parameters you look for with that, or is it really that if a business does a one-day push for charity and that's it for the whole year, that they also still have to file?
Yeah,
Are there parameters?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we say regularly and primarily, meaning they're an established commercial co-venture, they're an established commercial entity. You know, they own a storefront, they own a restaurant, they own a fast food joint, something like that. In other words, here's how we look at it. If there's 2 chicken fast food places within 3 blocks of each other, and one is saying, hey, for every chicken sandwich sold Friday night, we're going to give $1 to XYZ Booster Club. And I might say, oh, well, let's go to this one because we're going to do good. We're going to be supporting a charitable organization versus going to the other one. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about. You've got 2 places that are in business. They run the same, a business that's out there for everyone to benefit from, to purchase from. And now they're going to run a promotion. And so it's a business with a regular, storefront. It's what they do, basically, is what it is. So if you had, I can't even think of one that we've had where it might be something really unique that no one out there does, and they're just traveling through the area and decide that they say that they're going to do some sort of a fundraising share or something, but there's standalone thing. We don't know where they came from. We're not sure if they're actually, a legal entity. We might have to look at that and see, do they fit within this law? But I can't even think of an instance where we've had anything like that come up. We're just looking here at people who this is their regular course of business during the day. This is how they operate. This is what they do. This is how they make their living. And these are the services that they provide, and other people provide them as well. And so you have a choice where you want to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
My other question was for businesses that know, let's say they're planning now for the year ahead, and they know they want to do some sort of charitable giving in the next year, but they're really not quite certain yet of the exact campaign or what percentage they'll give back, but they know they're going to do it. Do you recommend they go ahead and file now and just be ready?
They need to make sure. They need to make sure within 10 days of when they're going to start advertising, and promoting the event. They need to do it within 10 days of that. 10 days prior to that starting, we get them registered, get their contract filed, or their notice of solicitation. So if you think you're going to do something in 2025, maybe you might do something starting, in January 25. You're not required to register or file that notice of solicitation until 10 days prior to the event.
Okay.
Okay.
Any
right.
other questions right now? I know we have some business owners here who, yeah, if you have any specific instances or scenarios you want to just sort of share, that's totally welcomed. We do have one more. It says, what about add-on donations at the point of sale, like sort of roundup instances that you might see at a grocery store?
Okay, so in that kind of thing, the roundups at the grocery store, they are the model that we have looked at, is what's considered a pass-through. The money never actually goes into their revenue stream. It is taken straight from the cash, the point of sale, straight to a nonprofit entity. So if it's a pass-through at this point, until we see a different kind of a model that shows that the organizations or that business is taking the money in and then holding it and paying it out later based on sales or whatever it is that the criteria are. If it's just the pass-through at this point, they're not required to register at this point. And it's based on the model that we were looking at when we last looked at it. So those are a little bit different. And we also, we know that the fundraising landscape changes very quickly as far as the creativity of ideas that people have to raise funds. So we can never say hard and fast no to one thing or no to it, or yes and yes to another. It's kind of a, it is a situational review based on current statute and current activity between two organizations. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and jump to our online application. So I wanted to show you that when you have a commercial co-venture or PFR, they're in the broad term is PFR, but a commercial co-venture such as this one here, I wanted to show you that this is what your dashboard is going to look like when you get it. And when you log into your dashboard, you will have the ability to file your contracts, file joint financial reports, update any of your PFR details, contact info changes, your physical address if you move for some reason. But any of this, you're going to be able to update at any point during the year, add your contracts here. We're going to go ahead and look at how one of those gets filed. And sorry, that was the joint financial report. Contracts here, joint financials. And if there's any open violations for an organization, you'll find them underneath this tab right here. This is not an active CCV, just so you know. This is our test database, and so this is the fact that they have a violation. You should not worry about that. The charity and fundraiser from our website, and the link for this is on that document that Jordan has for everyone. You will go on our website, and if you're registering for the first time, you're going to use the register organization button. And if you are renewing, you will just simply come in here. You'll use your login information, and that will take you to the dashboard. So when you have I'm going to jump over now to an actual demo filing that I have, and this is an organization that is a PFR that we've got set up. Here's the private ID I told you about, the public ID that I referenced. And we will, if you are going to file a contract, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to say, register a new contract, and you're going to have to tell us the name of the entity that you're going to fundraise for. So this is one reason why I want to make sure everyone knows that when you decide to get into a contract or fundraise for a nonprofit organization, you want to make sure that they are registered with our office. And so we covered that in the first few slides, that, who has to register. They have the same filing fee as you, the $50. They have to maintain their registration as long as they're fundraising in South Carolina or someone is fundraising on behalf of them in South Carolina. So make sure, because if you type their name in here and they're not registered, you will not be able to file a contract with them. And so that will just slow down your process of getting into compliance so that you can begin that event. So you're going to search for the organization. You're going to go ahead and click on their ID, and then you're going to go ahead and start entering details based on that form that you filled out on the screen. And so the group, campaign, and name. So this might be, so this organization, I already pre-filed one contract for the meal. I filed the meal deal. This could be another thing that is called, let's call this the Facebook likes. How about that? And so you might say beginning 1/1/2025, and it's going to, we're going to go and say you're going to have this go for the first quarter of the year. So let's go 3/31/2025. Oops. And we're going to say other terms. And we're going to say $1 for. So maybe you're going to run a campaign that says, for every like we get on our Facebook page, we're going to donate $1 to local charities. We would call that then just, we can say it's an event. We can say that you can run it in print if you want, but this is going to be electronic media. It's going to be on our Facebook page. So whatever applies here, go ahead and hit next. Does it involve a physical location? In this case, you would say no, it does not, because it's going to be online. Here you would upload your file, and this would be your contract, but it's actually the notice of solicitation that you complete. So you would find that on your computer. You would go ahead and upload it and save that, and next, and your contract has now been submitted. It's that easy to file a contract with us. If you say that there is an activity location, you'll be required to enter the location address. So now, in your contract list from your dashboard, you will see that you have 2 contracts on file with us. One that is running 2 years, and this was the one that I pre-filed that was 10% of the proceeds for the pay it forward meals that were sold on that Thursday. This other one is the one that we just filed, and this is the one for $1 per Facebook like. So when you are ready to file your joint financial report, you would come in here and you would click on the edit screen. You can see this isn't actually due until 90 days after the end of March. So this one would not be due yet. But if we go back to the contact details, we can come in here and joint financial report, and we have another one that will come due here. And this is what your screen's going to look like. This one also isn't due till later. Whoops, sorry, 1 second. Let me come back to this one here. Okay. Here it is. So this is the one I pre-filled out. So here's what we did. We went ahead and entered the dates that we're reporting on the form that we fill out, the joint financial report. You're going to take all this information right off of your form. So these are the dates that you said you ran your campaign from that you're reporting on the form. We had a $2,000 in gross receipts to the charity. It was 10%. So we are giving $200 to the charity. Calculates here. This is what the public's going to see that you ran this campaign. They're going to see the information that you are entering in here on the screens. They'll see the name of the charitable organization, along with the name of the commercial co-venture or the professional fundraising company. And then the last thing you do is you upload your document. And this is not a real JFR form, but you would come here, find it on your computer, and then upload it here. But again, the JFR form is the form that you filled out that I showed you the demo of earlier. That's the one that you're going to save. to your drive and upload that, and that will be available for the public to view from our website when they search the reports that we put out, or search the charitable organization or the fundraising registration. So that is a joint financial report. Any questions about filing these forms online? They're pretty simple. Once you save them to your drive, which is a few things to enter into the screens, and then save it, and they go into our queue. We approve them or review them. We will let you know if we have any questions about them. And if not, we just approve them and just move on to, to the next activity that you're going to be doing. You don't have to worry about these unless we contact you back. All right, so any questions about the online filing part? Okay, all right, let me go ahead and show you. This is our online page from our website. If you go to our home page at sos.sc.gov and hover over online filings, here is where you're going to find the professional fundraisers page. And there's all the different kinds here, the solicitor company, and you've got the council, and here's the commercial co-venture information. Here again, all your links. If you want to use a registration form by paper, you can find it here. If you file online, there's no paper form to fill out for the registration. You just follow everything along on the screen. It's the same questions on the form that is on the screen. The notice of solicitation can be found here, and the joint financial report. If you want to file online, you'll simply use this link here, and then you'll log into your dashboard as I showed you earlier. From our website also, we've got our search screen, and we can use the professional fundraisers and solicitors search here. And let's go ahead and search. I'm going to look up Ralph Lauren. They are registered CCV with us. And so it shows you their contracts here. And here's what you'll be able to see once you're registered with us. The commercial co-ventures entity's name, their public ID, where they're located at, their current status, whether they can be soliciting right now or not. And then this is the contract that they filed for this specific with this specific organization. It's the Ralph Lauren Corporation is to donate 100% price from example A, 25% example B. So this is a long contract. And so they're just putting in where you can find in the contract, when you look at it, what the terms are of remuneration. But what they've done here is they've said that they ran this contract from the 1st of January through August of 23. They remitted $428,728, and these are their reports that they submitted here. So you can see what one looks like. If you want to look and search a fundraiser, or if they search you, you'll find your information here once you submit it. So again, the description, theirs is quite extensive because of the contract that they have with the organizations. So what they are doing here, you might look at this and say, well, it's the same name, but what they have is this is the for-profit entity, Ralph Lauren Corporation, and they have a foundation that is actually their charitable foundation. So you have CCV information, charitable information, the dates of the entire contract. This one did not go past a year. So it's the same dates down below. Shows the gross revenue they received from the sale of these particular products during the campaign, and then what they gave to their nonprofit charitable organization, and then signed by both parties. So that's what the notice of solicitation looks like. All right, then the last thing I wanted to cover real quick today is the raffle information with our office, because often probably we do get several of these during the year where we have a for-profit entity that is involved in a raffle. So only certain nonprofit organizations can file, can conduct raffles. So a raffle is anytime you have a chance to purchase a ticket for a chance to win a prize. Okay, that's the quick and simple definition of it. But if I'm going to purchase a ticket or enter an event and I get a ticket for entering the event, a raffle ticket, that's conducting a raffle. If it's you sit down at your gala table and underneath your plate is a ticket, there's a raffle being conducted. So these would typically be conducted by nonprofit organizations. Only certain nonprofits can do it. You have anyone who's any one of these IRS section codes here, the C3, 4, 6, 7, 8, all of those. You can be a class, department, or organization of an educational institution as defined by the Solicitation of Charitable Funds Act. You have to be formed for charitable purposes. That's just a broad list of charitable purposes. And the organization has to be in compliance with the statute. In other words, they have to be a registered charitable organization. And then they have to register to conduct a raffle as well. And again, it's a $50 filing fee. A charitable organization must meet all three of these criteria to conduct a raffle. The professional fundraisers, commercial conventions cannot conduct a raffle. Now, can you have a raffle that's held, like we had a surf shop in Myrtle Beach once that was going to sell raffle tickets, but what it was a nonprofit was hosting a raffle, and the nonprofit was selling tickets at the surf shop, and so they were allowed to sell tickets there at the surf shop because it wasn't the surf shop holding the raffle, even though the tickets were being sold there. It was the nonprofit that was conducting the raffle. So you make sure you stay very clear on who can and cannot. If you see a raffle taking place, maybe at a for-profit entity, a restaurant, know that there's got to be a charitable organization that's behind that and the one that's actually registered and actually conducting the raffle. Okay, that's it. And here's my contact information for me personally and our charities division down below. If you have any questions at all, love to help you. If you need any further explanation or just get a letter and you need to talk to someone about it.
Thank you,
Any
Kim.
questions?
I'm going to give folks a minute if they want to come off mute or chat in the box a question. You still have a minute to do that. This was recorded, so it will be shared out with you all as soon as Zoom processes the recording. And I'll share the PDF that Kim shared as well with the instructions. For our member businesses, those two things will also be available through your member portal on our website. So if you wanted to log in and head to the member resources area, you can find this amongst a lot of other tactical resources. So if no one else has any questions, if you have a question come up later, again, please do reach out to Kim in her office. They will assist very quickly. And otherwise, keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you for doing the good work that you're doing to support our communities and all these great causes. And have a great holiday season, everybody.
Thank you,
Kim.
everyone. You're welcome.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.